Welcome to another episode of the Budde Files. This time I would like to talk to you about Telecom New Zealand and the complexity of the telecoms environment in that country. Approximately 1.5–2 years ago, the New Zealand government made the announcement to start its UFB, Ultra Fast Broadband network, that would see high-speed infrastructure, fiber infrastructure rolled out throughout the country, but based on the structural separation. That saw the electricity utilities coming into action, and they really come with some very interesting proposals for the government on how they can be engaged in the rollout of this infrastructure. All that time, Telecom New Zealand was sitting on the fence. They were not quite sure what to do. They didn't like the structural separation, and they basically wasted a lot of time in this whole process. Finally, a month or so ago, the company decided to actually come to the party and say, all right, we are interested in working with the government, and we are prepared to look at structural separation. But for that purpose, we need a number of variations to the legislation. That's a very, very complex sort of situation. It's very understandable that on the one side that an organization such as Telecom does need to take into account the situation not only in the future but also the transition and the current sort of situation. Telecom New Zealand is not in a flash position. It has been under threat or financial threat from various sort of areas. A bad run with the mobile, a bad case with its investment in Australia with AEPT, and its financial situation is under pressure. So it doesn't have a lot of room to move. However, at the same time, they need to move forward, and they need to start looking at what's next. Key in that, of course, is the transition period. You know, the country as well as Telecom does need its current telecommunication system. You do need to build a transition sort of situation and to move forward in that particular sort of area. And that requires a careful review of the current legislation. You know, the current legislation is based on functional separation, and in that situation, of course, the emphasis is on wholesale, is on DSL, you know, the cabinetization, an ill-fated project that Telecom started on, you know, is another element that needs to be taken into account. So there is I can understand that Telecom is asking for some flexibility and variations to that situation. On the other side, you know, the competition has flourished tremendously in New Zealand over the last couple of years since the functional separation. So the last thing that we want is hamper competition. We need to foster competition and make sure that that obviously is also going to go forward under the new regime. So my suggestion is that the Commerce Commission and in particular the Commissioner himself becomes heavily involved in arbitrating and in actually facilitating and negotiating proper deals. You know, there has to be some flexibility on Telecom side, on the government side, on the industry side to move this forward. So under the guidance of the Commerce Commission, this needs to be sorted out. People need to sit around the table. All these elements need to be taken into account. But I fully agree, some flexibility will be required, some variations will be required in order to make this all happen. Thank you very much for listening to this episode, and I'm looking forward to talk to you the next time. At the end of the tape you will find some more information about this topic and other topics. Thank you.